Jin Ze's agency asked for silence, but fans noticed something else. The statement was brief, almost too brief. Just a few carefully chosen words released by Jin Ze's agency, urging the public to remain calm, avoid speculation, and respect privacy during what they described as a difficult period. On the surface, it seemed like a standard corporate response, the kind that appears whenever rumors begin spreading faster than facts. But within minutes of its release, something unexpected happened. Fans stopped reading the statement. Instead, they started studying everything around it. And what they discovered has sparked one of the most emotional and mysterious discussions the entertainment world has seen in recent months. Across social media platforms in Asia, Europe, Spain, and the United States, screenshots began circulating, not of the statement itself, but of details hidden in plain sight. Tiny details, almost invisible details, the kind that most people would overlook. Yet for devoted fans who had spent years following Jin Ze's career, those details felt impossible to ignore. The first clue appeared in a photograph released alongside the agency's announcement. At first glance, it looked ordinary, a professional image, nothing unusual. But fans quickly zoomed in, and then they noticed his eyes. Not the expression, not the pose, the eyes. For years, Jin Ze had been known for maintaining direct eye contact with cameras. Whether during interviews, photo shoot, or public appearances, there was always a confidence in his gaze, a quiet certainty that made fans feel connected to him. But in this image, something felt different. His eyes appeared distant, not sad, not angry, just somewhere else, as though he was physically present, but emotionally miles away. Thousands of comments appeared overnight. Some called it exhaustion, others called it grief. Many simply admitted they had never seen him look like that before. Then came the second discovery, a video clip from an event recorded weeks before the agency statement. The footage was only a few seconds long, yet it triggered countless discussions. During the event, Jin Ze could be seen standing beside several colleagues while photographers shouted directions. Everyone smiled, everyone waved, everyone interacted naturally, except Jin Ze. For a brief moment, his smile faded, not gradually, instantly. The transition lasted less than a second, but fans replayed it repeatedly, frame by frame, and the more they watched, the more unsettling it became. The expression wasn't dramatic enough to become a headline, but it was real enough to make people uncomfortable. It looked like someone carrying a burden they could no longer hide. Then attention shifted toward his final public appearances. That was when things became even stranger. Fans began comparing footage from different events over several months. Patterns emerged, small patterns, yet remarkably consistent ones. Jin Ze appeared quieter, more reflective. His laughter seemed shorter. His responses during interviews became increasingly measured. Even moments that once felt spontaneous suddenly appeared calculated, as if he was choosing every word with extreme caution. One fan created a compilation showing clips from various interviews across different years. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Earlier footage showed a vibrant, energetic figure eager to engage with every question. Recent footage revealed someone who often paused before answering, someone whose smile reached his lips but not always his eyes, someone who appeared to be thinking about things he couldn't say. That compilation spread rapidly, not because it proved anything, but because it raised questions nobody could answer. Then another moment resurfaced, an interview that many viewers had forgotten. At the time, it seemed insignificant. Now it felt completely different. When asked about happiness, Jin Ze paused longer than expected. The room grew quiet. The interviewer smiled, assuming he was joking. But Jin Ze didn't laugh immediately. Instead, he lowered his gaze. His fingers tightened slightly around the microphone, and then he finally answered. His response sounded normal enough. Yet when fans revisited the clip after the agency's request for silence, they noticed the hesitation preceding it, the silence before the words, the expression before the smile. Suddenly, that forgotten moment felt loaded with meaning. Meanwhile, another theory began spreading among online communities. It had nothing to do with interviews or photographs. It focused on the people around him. Fans noticed subtle shifts in the behavior of colleagues who had worked closely with Jin Ze. Some appeared unusually emotional when mentioning him. Others avoided discussing him altogether. A few posted cryptic messages online that never directly referenced him, but seemed impossible to separate from the ongoing situation. One particular post gained enormous attention. The message itself was simple, just a few lines about regret, timing, and appreciating people while they are still present in your life. There was no name attached, no explanation, no context, yet fans immediately connected it to Jin Ze. The post remained online for only a short time before disappearing. But screenshots had already spread worldwide. And with every deleted post, every unanswered question, every unexplained detail, public curiosity intensified. Ironically, the agency's request for silence seemed to achieve the opposite effect. The more people were told not to speculate, the more closely they examined every available piece of information, every glance, every pause, every expression, every interaction, every forgotten clip. What fascinated fans most wasn't the possibility of scandal. It was the possibility of hidden pain. Because beneath the mystery, many people believed they were witnessing something deeply human. Someone carrying emotions behind carefully constructed smiles. Someone navigating struggles invisible to cameras. Someone trying to remain strong while quietly falling apart. And perhaps that is why this story refuses to disappear. Not because audiences enjoy rumors, but because they recognize vulnerability, even when it remains unspoken, especially when it remains unspoken. Today, the agency's statement still exists. The request for silence remains unchanged. Officially, there is nothing more to discuss. No confirmations, no explanations, no revelations. Yet the conversation continues growing, because fans are no longer focused on what was said. They are focused on what wasn't. The pauses between words, the emotions hidden behind expressions, the moments that seemed insignificant until viewed through a completely different lens. And somewhere within those fragments lies a mystery that nobody has fully solved. A mystery that may be far more personal and far more heartbreaking than anyone initially imagined. Because if fans are right about one thing, it is this. The most important message was never contained in the agency's statement. It was hidden somewhere else, in a look, in a silence, in a moment that lasted only seconds, a moment that millions overlooked. Until now, and as more forgotten footage continues resurfacing, some fans believe they are getting closer to understanding what really happened. Others fear the truth, maybe something they are not prepared to hear. But one thing has become impossible to deny. The story isn't ending. It's only becoming stranger. And the next clue may already be waiting in a place nobody has thought to look. What happened next was something nobody expected. Just when fans thought they had exhausted every interview, every photograph, and every public appearance connected to Jin Ze, a forgotten piece of footage suddenly resurfaced. And within hours, it was spreading across fan communities like wildfire. The clip was not dramatic. There were no tears, no shocking statements, no obvious signs of distress. In fact, that was precisely what made it so unsettling. The footage showed Jin Ze arriving at an event surrounded by staff members. Cameras flashed. Fans shouted his name. Security guided him toward the entrance. Everything appeared normal, until viewers slowed the video down, frame by frame, second by second. And there it was, a moment lasting less than 3 seconds. As Jin Ze approached the doorway, someone standing just behind him appeared to say something. No audio could clearly capture the words. No lip reader could provide a confirmed interpretation. Yet what happened afterward left fans speechless. His expression changed. Instantly, the smile vanished. His shoulders stiffened. The warmth disappeared from his eyes. For a brief moment, he looked like someone carrying the weight of an invisible storm. Then, almost as quickly, the smile returned. The cameras continued flashing. The crowd continued cheering. But fans could no longer unsee what they had witnessed. Who spoke to him? What was said? And why did that single sentence seem capable of transforming his entire demeanor? The questions multiplied overnight. Then another detail emerged. This one came from an old live stream, a moment so ordinary that nobody paid attention to it at the time. Yet, viewed now, it felt almost haunting. During the stream, a fan had asked Jin Ze a simple question about his future plans. He smiled politely, but before answering, he paused. Not for 1 second, not for two, long enough for viewers to notice, long enough for something to shift across his face. His eyes drifted away from the camera. His smile weakened, and then he quietly said something that seemed harmless back then. Sometimes things don't happen the way you expect. That was all. One sentence. Yet after everything that followed, fans began revisiting those words with a completely different perspective. Was it simply casual conversation? Or was it a glimpse into thoughts he couldn't openly share? Nobody knew, and that uncertainty only deepened the mystery. Soon, fan investigators began comparing photographs from different stages of his career. The results were startling. They weren't searching for scandals anymore. They were searching for patterns. Moments where his eyes appeared tired. Moments where his smile seemed forced. Moments where he looked surrounded by people, but somehow completely alone. What they found was heartbreaking. The changes were subtle, almost invisible unless viewed side by side. Yet, once noticed, they became impossible to ignore. The bright confidence that once defined him appeared increasingly fragile. His posture became more reserved, his gestures more controlled, his expressions more guarded. It was as though an invisible wall had slowly been built around him, one brick at a time, year after year. And perhaps the most chilling discovery came from those who had worked closest to him. Fans noticed that certain colleagues continued mentioning old memories involving Jin Ze, not recent memories. Old ones, stories from years ago, moments of laughter, moments of friendship, moments that felt strangely nostalgic, as if they were remembering something precious they feared might never return. That observation sparked an entirely new wave of discussion. Why were so many people looking backward instead of forward? Why did their words feel less like celebration and more like remembrance? Again, there were no answers, only questions. And with every unanswered question, the emotional weight surrounding the story grew heavier. Some fans admitted they could no longer watch his older interviews without feeling a sense of sadness they couldn't explain. Others confessed that certain smiles now looked different, not because the footage had changed, but because their understanding of it had. Every laugh carried hidden meaning. Every silence felt significant. Every glance appeared connected to something larger that remained frustratingly out of reach. Yet, perhaps the most powerful realization was this. The mystery was no longer about discovering a secret. It was about understanding a person whose public image may have hidden emotions nobody truly recognized at the time. A person who smiled while carrying burdens invisible to millions. A person whose quietest moments were now speaking louder than any official statement ever could. And somewhere within those moments, fans believe another clue still remains undiscovered. A clue buried inside footage that is yet to be analyzed. A clue hidden inside a photograph nobody has examined closely enough. A clue that could completely change everything people think they know. Because if recent discoveries have proven anything, it is that the story surrounding Jin Ze may be far deeper than anyone initially imagined. And if the next piece of the puzzle finally surfaces, it could reveal a truth that changes the entire narrative forever. So what do you think fans really missed? Was it hidden in his expressions, his silence, or something much bigger hiding in plain sight? Share your theory below, because the next revelation may connect directly to clues most people still haven't noticed, and what comes next will be the most shocking chapter yet.